The other day, I was in Venice Beach, California, and it was a nice day. It was a little bit cloudy, but kids were still out, dogs were still out, people were biking around. It was a nice day at the beach. But what stuck out to me the most was this giant fire truck trying to navigate through the pedestrianized area. And clearly, this is not the safest thing for this space. And it got me thinking that the US is just so tolerant of these giant service vehicles. It's almost like we've lost all imagination for what else we could use in these spaces. We just say, all right, well, we have to have giant fire trucks because that's all there is. And it reminded me of this tweet that I made a few years ago, back when Twitter was still worthwhile to even use. I made this post talking about fire trucks, and I said one misconception for why the US needs massive streets: emergency vehicle size. But we've already had smaller versions when our streets were narrow. They've just ballooned to behemoths as our roads got wider. Nothing too controversial, but a lot of people took offense to me talking about the fire trucks, and I got a lot of angry responses about this tweet. Actually, let me go ahead and show you those in the style of celebrities read mean tweets, a la Jimmy Kimmel. Congrats! This is probably the dumbest take I read today. That was nice. Saying current and putting up a pic of a fire truck that's at least double the size of any fire truck I've seen in my life. Come on now, bro. You never seen a big fire truck? Okay. Buildings got taller. Try again. Did they? I don't know about that. Someone said, is this satire? It was not. Another person said, that tiller truck can make tighter turns than trucks much smaller than it. Fires also burn faster and hotter than they used to, thanks to synthetic materials currently in use. Part of that seems unrelated. And probably my favorite, buildings are ... taller, dumbass. Again, rude. And somebody who now deleted his Twitter said, one of the most ridiculous notions I've seen. Sorry if you're more than 10 feet up, you're out of luck. Well, look, I'm not saying ban tall fire trucks, but let's just use the ones that work for our streets. So we should design service vehicles for the streets we want, not the other way around. And I've been inspired by other urbanists and especially strong towns in my thinking on this. So it wasn't something that I just sort of came up with on my own. In fact, Strong Towns has a pretty good article on this that I always go refer to, The Right Gear for the Right Job. And this is by Chuck Marone, the founder of Strong Towns. So do we size our city for the equipment we want, or size our equipment for the city we want? And basically saying that, hey, you know what, when we have these really wide roads, these wide streets, they're going to be more unsafe potentially. And these are conversations that are happening on, Council of New Urbanism. Why are fire officials hung up on a street width? Random towns across the country are facing this. Street safety advocates want narrow roads. The fire department is opposed. Bloomberg City Labs had pieces on this years ago. Fire departments are standing in the way of good street design, by Scott Wiener, actually. Now, interestingly enough, San Francisco has been doing more on this. This is Street Blogs USA, just from 2018. And apparently San Francisco has been making some efforts on these to get a little better. Now, again, like I mentioned, I know some places are making efforts, but we still seem to be getting hung up on these big, wide streets for our big fire trucks. Jokes aside, I had just arrived from East Asia when I saw that fire truck in Venice Beach. And it really got me thinking about the differences between the service vehicles and vehicles that I saw in East Asia compared to the ones I was seeing in LA and broader United States. And so I wanted to share a few of those examples with you today, just to give us a little bit more imagination about what our vehicle size and our service vehicle size in particular can look like. The first place I want to take you is Suzhou in mainland China, one of my favorite cities in China. It's a very old city, an ancient city, and some of the streets are narrow and old and very difficult to drive through, although people still do. And so a lot of the vehicles that you're going to be seeing are designed to be able to navigate those old streets. Let's go take a look. First up, I have this fire truck in Suzhou, and this is one of the older parts of the city. And you can see it's pretty compact. There's still cars and people and motorbikes that are still passing by, but it's narrowish. It's kind of a little bit chunky, I guess, compared to the other cars. But you can see that it's a reasonable size for this street. Now, I'm not saying the U.S. doesn't have fire trucks like this, but what I'm saying is Suzhou is a city that also has giant glass towers and things like that, and they're still able to use the small fire trucks on streets where they need them. And here's just a couple others. It's a tiny service truck going through actually on a bike lane, working pretty well with the scooters and bikers that are there. Then I have this little emergency vehicle that is very, very tiny that you can see, and I was just barely managed to stay dry while I was recording this video. But you can see this is really a fun-sized vehicle. All right, that was cool. Love to see those hodgepodge of vehicles. But let's take a look at a specific one in Seoul, South Korea. Okay, so here we have what we call the Maeul buses of Seoul and broader South Korea. And you can just see how tiny and compact these things are. I really enjoy kind of taking these around, and these are actually known as the village buses. And they use them to kind of get into kind of the nook and cranny and the small parts of Seoul. Of course, they have larger, bigger buses that take you on the kind of main roads or the main thoroughfares. Even some go on the highway when they're going between cities. But these are the ones, the village buses, these are the ones that are made to go inside of the nook and crannies of Seoul. You can see the little kids walking by. These are pretty narrow alleys and streets that are much older, more residential. These are really great to go see the city. It only cost 1,200 won, which is about 80 cents. So I really suggest using these little Maeul buses if you go to Seoul. Yeah, Seoul is pretty amazing. Always love Seoul. The next one, though, I want to show you is Hong Kong. The next one I want to talk about is Hong Kong's tramway system. This dates back to 1904 during colonial rule by the Brits. Hong Kong's always had tight constricted space, so they have this tram that is on this track. You can see it coming down, and affectionately known as the ding ding for that sort of bell that you probably can hear in some of these videos. And you can see that even in this crowded space, this crowded market, it's coming down no problem. People are seeing where it's coming. That lady even just kind of goes right through it right when it's about to pass. It'd still be pretty stressful, I think, to drive one of the trams, but it's so safe to be around all these people because it is A, narrow, B, it's on a track. And so because of those two things, it does make it where it can navigate those tight corners. I want to show you how safe this is by how close you actually get to it when you're waiting at a stop. I mean, this is really only like a couple of feet from your face as it comes swinging by. And actually, if you see my foot in this next shot, I kind of just show you that really I'm standing only a foot away from where the train is coming by. And it really does just make a beautiful aesthetic to ride these trains, to look around these trains and see all these kinds of towering buildings go by in this really amazing city. And they're very easy to navigate, actually. Hong Kong's actually pretty compact. I know it might look like a big, scary place, but I do think if you're going to go there, this is certainly the way to see the city. It's only 3 Hong Kong dollars, which is like 40 cents, or at least that's what it was when this video was made. And so that's a kind of a cheap way to get around the city. These trams are so safe that people actually bike behind them on the tracks because they are so predictable. I wouldn't do it, but hey, it's up to you. Okay, and then finally, everyone loves Tokyo. Everyone loves the small trucks there. And so let's go ahead and go to Tokyo. And here comes this K car, this K truck that a lot of people kind of know and love. And these you'll see this style of truck, small truck. You'll see these all over Tokyo and throughout Japan. And they are tiny, fit for the streets because Japan's streets are narrow. They're very tiny. I didn't drive there. Probably is very annoying to drive, but that's kind of the point. And these vehicles are used for all kinds of stuff. So you're seeing like, delivering Coca-Cola, delivering beer. They help out with trash collection, things like that. So these are really nice for the city. I saw small buses. I saw different kinds of van vehicles crammed into spaces. Now, don't get me wrong, I also saw some American sized trucks in places like this one, and it certainly looked out of place. It certainly didn't fit on the street. They are there. But for the most part, we're seeing the vehicles, the K truck, like this one here, that are servicing the streets that are made for Japan, not the other way around. Okay, and that's going to be the end of the video. I thank you for watching. And do you have any examples out there that you want to share?